Okay. Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris from CCA California, and today we have a real treat. We've got Captain Jason from Stardust Sportfishing. How are you, Jason?
Hi, how is everybody?
Awesome. Well, let's wait a couple of seconds here for people to come on in. But what have you been up to during the quarantine? How are things going up north?
Well, I tell you what, we've been very active in staying safe and keeping our customers safe, of course, with wearing a mask, keeping things clean all the time, doing what we're supposed to do in our guidelines. We actually follow those to a T. I mean, we're working very hard at that, and that's just the way it has to be right now. And we're going to follow those guidelines, and we're going to do a good job. And that's what we've been doing. And some people may get a little annoyed when we ask them to put their mask on once in a while because it comes off. It comes off sometimes. I mean, okay, cool. We will ask you to put it back on and stuff. But everybody's been very, very cool through this whole thing. And I'm pretty sure it's just because people want to get out and do things. There's not much else to do out there. They want to go out and go fishing, and they want to go out and do outdoor activities, and they want to stay safe. I got it. I do too. I literally go to work, come home, and wait till the next morning. If I do go out, we do have we have a little aluminum boat that my kids and I take out fishing at the lake every now and then, you know, mm-hmm. And we do stuff outdoors and stuff like that. I mean, we do the best we can.
Absolutely. I mean, we're hearing so many stats and all those trends right now where just with this whole COVID, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, the sport fishing has grown immensely, just in participation and also in many different categories. Wouldn't you think?
Well, it's an outdoor activity. You know, it's an outdoor activity. If everybody pretty much follows the rules and stays safe, you know, I don't see any issue with being outdoors all day. I mean, literally, this is one of the few things you can do. And also, you can bring home a bag of fish to share with you and your friends and your family and all that other stuff. You know, it's a really good deal right now. And it's a cool thing to do. I mean, you get out and you get to bring home food. I feel it's one of the best things you can do right now.
Well, what's better than that? You get to go have fun, and also you get fish.
Well, what's better than going fishing, period, right now? Right? I mean, it really is cool.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Let's check in with the audience here. We've got Robert, Todd. How are you going, guys? Grant. Jason says, howdy, Jason. I'm sorry, Wayne says, howdy, Jason.
Tell him I said hi.
Yep. Carrie, how are you? Chris, Eric. Awesome. Wayne is chiming in. He says California fishing licenses sales have been up by $4 million this year.
Oh, I bet. There's so many more people going fishing right now because that's the thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, Jason, let's kind of get started here. Let's tell us a little bit, because I know you have both the Stardust and the Coral Sea under your wing. Tell us a little bit about the boats and give us a little history.
Well, the Stardust is a 65-foot sport fishing boat. It's a day boat. It has seating all over the place. It's got a big galley, which we don't really use right now. We just serve food out of. It's a takeout thing right now, but really comfortable boat, fast, clean, nice. You know, it's very well maintained, and the fishing has been extraordinary this year. The sheer numbers and size of fish we're catching is just incredible.
I can imagine. I mean, I know earlier this year, we were back in October, I believe. I know you and Jamie as well do a lot of work with the CCFRP program, and we were out tagging fish on the Stardust. And I could definitely speak for experience. The Stardust is well maintained.
It's really a cool boat. And then the Coral Sea that boat has bunks and stuff. It's 60 feet long. It has a ton of deck space all over it. It's got a nice bunk room on it. Sleep 17 people. If you did come with like your wife or something, you could sleep in a bunk in the back bunk room with them, because those bunks have many ways to get out of them. The forward double bunks are just considered single bunks now. That's the way the law reads and all this other stuff. But you know, that boat does day trips. Mostly it does some overnight charters, a few, but we mainly do 3/4 day trips. Leaves at 7, gets back about 5 and 6 o'clock in the evening. And that goes out, and those trips go every day. And that's kind of what we've been doing on both boats. Awesome. We're leaving at 7 o'clock, both boats, and getting back between, 5, 6 o'clock in the evening.
Absolutely. And, you know, I mean, just with those time frames and also just the close proximity to just really, really great fishing grounds off of Santa Cruz, Santa Rosa Islands and all that. I mean, you can't really go wrong with Stardust or Coral Sea.
Yeah, it's been a great season for fishing this year. You're you're almost guaranteed to get a nice bag of fish right now. I can't 100% guarantee it, but your odds of not catching a nice big bag of fish, I mean, your odds are pretty high. Yeah. And they're good ones. They're nice big fish. They're good ones. You can just look on our Facebook page right now and look at our counts for today and go, wow, they're really doing great right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, one of the big things, you know, one of my favorite things about Stardust is, you know, someone's always posting on Facebook. So you're always seeing all those big fish, and even, you know, good or bad, you're seeing fish every day coming over the rail on both boats, which is really, really nice.
And we're catching a lot of very good eating fish right now, too. You know, the rockfish, whitefish, sheephead, lingcod, stuff like that. It's all good eating.
For sure. For sure. Carrie's chiming in with our first question. Where's your favorite place to go fishing personally? And where's your favorite place to take others fishing?
Ooh, I have so many. Well, I would say if I was going to take my family and friends out fishing on one of our boats, I would probably go out to Santa Rosa Island or Santa Cruz Island and probably anchor up. Right today, I would go probably try to catch some big sheephead first, run out in some deeper water, try to catch a few lingcod. And while I'm fishing those lingcod, there's other places adjacent to that that have good reds and chuckleheads on them and groupers and stuff like that. That's what I would do today. Now, if it was in the spring, I'd probably go look for some white sea bass or some halibut and stuff like that, and then go rockfish fishing after that. Now, if I went fishing personally, if I took my kids out right now, I'd probably go to Lake Kachuma and go bass fishing because it's off the hook right now. Oh my gosh, it is such good bass fishing there right now. They just stocked trout. I'm not big on the trout, but they stocked about 8,000 pounds of trout recently. I see people catching some really big trout right now. But yeah, and then if I was saltwater fishing with just myself and say a skiff, I'd probably go right in front of the harbor and start throwing swim baits. I throw swim baits all day.
Really?
I catch calicos and sand bass and stuff like that. Maybe occasionally halibut or something.
Huh. Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, you know, here's a question for me. You know, to be honest, we weren't really open the first half of this year, all the way up until June. Have you guys seen any effect on the fishing and all that, or are we just kind of making up for lost time earlier in the year?
No, fishing's always good. It's good. Whether we fish or not, it's good. The Pacific Ocean, our West Coast, is in excellent shape. There are records being broken every single year for all kinds of different fish, size and numbers. We've done a great job of managing our West Coast, and it is thriving on fish. It is unbelievable how good it is. And I've been doing this for over 40 years. I've never seen fishing this good. Sorry. You can tell me you're blue in the face. It's not as good as it was. I was there in the good old days. This is the good old days for fishing. Ask anybody doing in the fishing industry. Ask anybody. This is the good old days. Fishing's good.
Wow. That's really good to hear, you know, coming, you know, from a veteran like yourself, also to a young guy, like, you know, even younger than I am. And that's really good. And kind of shows us really kind of take advantage of the good fishing that we have all up and down the coast.
Well, think about it for a minute. Have you ever seen fishing like this? I mean, all the way from the tuna fishing, all the way to fishing on the coast, all up and down Southern California here. Have you seen anything like this in the past? I mean, the past 5 years, especially, maybe even a little longer than that, have been absolutely, you have never been able to catch bluefin like that, yellowfin tuna, dorado, anything like that, ever in that kind of numbers, ever in California. That is like a thing, man. It's awesome, right? And then the fishing up and down the coast, you know, I mean, you look at these fish counts, all the sport fishing boats are posting and other stuff. Those are good numbers, man. That's good fishing, you know. Everybody's coming home with bags of fish up and down this whole coast, you know, and it's managed fish. It's not like we're overfishing. We're taking what we're supposed to take, you know. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, who would have thought, you know, a year ago, 5 years ago, even 10 years ago, we're pulling bluefin down here in San Diego. They're close to 400 pounds. Who would have thought?
That's never really happened. That hasn't been a thing ever, you know? And all the other tuna that come up now too and stuff, you know, the yellowtail and all that other stuff. I mean, the amount of bonito out there is incredible down the coastal ways, you know, the Catalina way, stuff like that. I mean, wow, right? Even ground fishing up and down the coast from San Diego up has gotten so much better. You know, those guys can go out on a slow day when the surface fish aren't biting and catch their people some nice bags of rockfish and stuff. And everybody's had a very successful day, you know? And I think fishing success, it's been so good lately. That's another reason why a lot more people are going fishing. It's successful fishing these days. You don't come back with nothing hardly ever anymore. You know, you come back with fish, you know, every boat, I mean, when you go out fishing, you're coming back with fish. It's very successful right now. That's a really cool thing for people. They go out and they catch something. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, the rate of success is just unreal. And, you know, I do have to say, you know, your stuff and Jamie as well, you know, you guys are really involved with PFMC and SAC and those managing systems with NOAA as well, you know, so you know, you'd probably be better than anyone to really tell us that too.
You want to make sure when you're working with these people that they know too that this is a well-managed fishery and fishing's really good. It's important to make sure that people know that. This is not a dying ocean. Sorry, this isn't the collapse. It is just the beginning of some better fishing to even come, which it's hard to think it would get better, but it will. At the rate we're going, it's going to get better and better and better all the time. Even though sometimes you think, could it get much better? And then it does get a little better. That's how it's been the past, from I've seen around 5+ years now. There has been a huge, huge, huge increase in the amount of fish that we're catching and being successful. And it's because there's a ton of fish around. You got to remember, there's over 3,000 miles on our Southern California coast that's closed, where fish can't be touched. They can't be touched by a human being or anything else for that matter, you know? Their only predator would be a seal probably, right? Mm-hmm. That's it. I mean, or maybe something, yeah, maybe a shark or something, I don't know. But what I'm trying to say is that there is so much closed area that those fish, we survey those areas sometimes, you can't get past. It is crowded in there with fish. It's crowded. So a lot of that fish, a lot of fish are being pushed out of those closed areas into areas that aren't closed. And it's just, I mean, there's a lot of fish out there, man. It's incredible. And when you do go, when we sample in these areas that are closed, they're loaded. But what's funny too is the areas we sample outside the closed areas are loaded as well. That's pretty cool. That's a pretty neat thing, right?
Absolutely.
It makes me feel comfortable that when I pass, when I get too old to do this, whoever I turn to turn our business over to other people or sell whatever we're going to do, I feel comfortable they're going to be successful too. And my kids are going to probably stay in this industry and they're going to be successful. And it's going to be a really neat future for fishing.
No doubt. I mean, with, you know, not only in the popularity of it, the interest level is high with this whole deal, and not to mention the success rate. I mean, it's only looking up from here. It really is.
It really is. I see no collapse in fishing at all. I see it getting better and better all the time. I do. And like I said, I saw it years ago. It was good fishing. Don't get me wrong. It was good fishing. It's good, but it's extraordinary right now. It's super good. I mean, it's amazing to catch all these nice sized fish and plenty of them right now, all up and down the coast.
That's fantastic news for sure. Todd from TB Metal is asking, when is your favorite fish to catch?
Oh gosh, I love to catch calico bass and yellowtail and shallow water rockfish on plastic lures and small jigs. I do like to go tuna fishing sometimes. I take a long range trip every now and then, but I really love to catch yellowtail and surface iron too. I love that.
I mean, to be brutally honest, as a iron fisher myself, there's really no other excitement thing. You know, it's really fun, and you'd be kind of interested to know that a lot of these guys who just absolutely are killing it at the tuna fishing, at least down here, Most often than not, you ask any one of us or any one of them saying, hey, what's your favorite fish to catch? It's either saltwater bass or freshwater bass.
Right. I do. You know, this COVID thing got me addicted to freshwater fishing for largemouth, you know, but I got to tell you, my favorite thing to do is, like I said, surface iron fishing, you know, swim bait fishing, all this stuff, small jigs. I mean, I love to put the anchor down sometimes on a spot and just sit there and just catch the snot out of all kinds of great stuff on little lures and stuff on you know, 15 to 20 pound on a 300 series, you know, reel. It's awesome. Yeah.
Oh, that's super exciting. And, you know, you kind of said it yourself where you just give us a couple hours, just drop the pick, and on a wide open bass bite where you have that opportunity not only to catch fish, but also have the opportunity to try new stuff, try new lures, try new jigs, and even refine skill too.
Oh, absolutely. I tell you what, the kids go in the backyard, and I've always been a big preacher of this. Go in your backyard, put on a clothespin, and cast a clothespin. It's about the size of a medium sardine or a large anchovy. And if you can toss that thing about 50 or 60 feet, right, you're going to be able to cast everything else very well too. But if you start off like that, you know, fishing your 25 or 30 pound, if you can flip that thing all the way across your yard or down the street or wherever, that's great practice. And then you can always go to a field later, cut the treble hook off one of your crappy surface iron jigs that don't work, because some don't work. Go out in that field, grab your jig stick, and you just cast it. Shoot for the stars, you know, and cast your tail off all day. And if you had a tough day at that, go back and do it again the next day. It's really cool. It gets a lot of frustration out too.
I was just about to say, I mean, you go to a field, a golf course, anything like that, and you can have some serious practice.
Before I took Matthew on our long range trip on the American Angler last year, he couldn't throw a jig very well. He's only 13, you know, I mean, he could do okay, but not good enough to where, you know, you need to get into that, you know, that ball of fish, you know. So I took him out there, and I, like I said, I found a crappy surface iron. I cut the hooks off, and we stood there and we went there every day for a week straight. He got it down, you know, and it takes about a week to be like, oh, I'm good at this now.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool, so cool. Wayne's asking, after COVID is over, any ideas to add overnight trips?
We do private charters right now for overnight trips. We'll take a private overnight charter anytime. I'm not real big on the open party thing. We run full every day in our 3/4 days. I don't want to put a damper on that.
Understandable. Carrie says, yellows are my favorite, especially on the iron, just what we were talking about. Edgar says, go Coral Sea and Stardust. Carrie's also saying clothespins are how I learned how to cast a conventional reel.
Yep, that's the way to do it.
Yep. Jack has a question. What do you think is the biggest fish caught on the Stardust or Coral Sea?
Oh, I'd say halibut this year. I can't remember the exact weight of them. We did get a sea bass that was really big too on the Coral Sea. He was probably pushing over 40. I can't remember the exact weight though. And we got a halibut too that was probably close to that as well. But I'd say those were our biggest fish of the season. I mean, you don't want to count like thresher sharks or makos or stuff like that. If you do, yeah, we probably caught a fish that was 150 pounds or so, but we don't keep the sharks or anything like that. We don't really count sharks. We could, but you know, we just don't. So, yeah, I'd say the halibut and the sea bass were the biggest fish we caught this year.
Okay, awesome. Very cool. So let's kind of switch gears here and talk about, you know, we already mentioned that you're from Santa Barbara. Channel Islands is not too far away either. Any advantages as to going, you know, other than the distance, obviously, between Santa Barbara and Channel Islands?
I'm not going to say there's any advantage. No, I'm saying we're closer to Santa Rosa Island and stuff, and the Gaviota Coast, of course. So we're going to fish there. But those guys do great down there too. They do awesome. Those guys are my friends. We grew up together. Everybody down there, we all grew up together. You know, they're awesome too. You know, they're awesome. Yeah.
Excellent. Raymond's chiming in. We were on the Coral Sea last week, Wednesday at Santa Rosa. My daughter had a blast. Thank you.
Oh, cool. I love when people take their kids fishing and they have a great time.
Oh,
and it's so cool to take your kids out. It's so cool with this area. I've always called this area the Channel Islands area, the successful fishing area. You can bring anybody up here, any skill level, and they will catch fish. And that's the coolest thing ever, because especially taking your kids fishing, it's really important. I feel that they have to be successful at first, then they kind of get into it. If they're not so successful at first, they can lose interest and maybe not want to go anymore. I know that's just the way I've seen some stuff go down, that's all. But I feel like if you can take your kids fishing and they're successful and they have a great day like that, they'll keep coming with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, wouldn't you say, rock fishing, bass fishing, those two fisheries in particular, with a high success rate at times, depending on conditions and all that, wouldn't you say that that's actually pretty good start, I guess a pretty good beginning for
it's
those?
Probably one of the best beginnings ever, because especially this year, we've been fishing a lot more shallow than normal. The shallow water has been biting really good. But they can also take their fish home and eat it and stuff too. It's really good eating fish. It doesn't have that real fishy flavor to it and all of that. You get your fish, you get your kids and your friends and stuff into catching and cooking fish. That's a really cool thing too. I mean, the whole thing like that is really something. And kids really, really take to that. They do. They love to go. They caught their fish. They got it cleaned. They brought it home. They cleaned it all up. They cooked some for dinner, or they had it the next night for dinner or something like that. But they look at you can look at your kids, or they'll look, or they'll even talk to you about it and go, dude, we caught this just the other day or just today, and now we're eating it, and it's good. It's mild fish. It's really good eating. It's clean. It's amazing stuff, And anybody, my 3-year-old eats it. He doesn't eat anything, but he'll eat some fish sometimes,
That's good to know. That's good to know. Rick Scott's checking in. Jason rocks. He runs one of the best operations on the West Coast.
Oh, no. Rick rocks, and Rick runs one of the best operations on the coast. Hey, he was on fire this year. He was killing it on the tuna and stuff this year. He did awesome. Highliner many days.
Oh yeah, for sure. And he's got the experience and evidence to prove that, for sure. Edgar says best rock fishing boats in the Tri-Counties.
Thank you.
Yep. Todd is saying, I would love to catch a lingosaur, possible in San Diego.
In San Diego? I don't know. I think if you took a Colonette trip, yes. Probably if you took one of the day and a halves down to Colonette or something like that, yeah. I think you could catch one, yeah.
Excellent. Well, let's kind of dive right into the fishing here with, so many different options between fishing with live bait, with jigs, with squid, all these different gear types and all that. If you're going on the Stardust tomorrow or any day for that matter, what are you typically fishing with?
Squid strips are king, but we also have live sardines and anchovies too. That can vary. And sometimes we don't have bait because bait's hard to catch. Sometimes we won't get it. But squid is king. We catch 90% of our fish on squid strips. And other stuff, you can put a squid strip on your shrimp fly. You could put one on your plastic lure or something like that. But for the most part, a 2-hook Ganyan with a 10 to 12 ounce sinker, you'll catch so much fish. It's not uncommon to catch a 20 fish limit right now either. With white rockfish, lingcod, sheephead, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Any success on the jigs by any chance? Any of the cold snippers?
The biggest mistake I've seen people make when they use jigs is they use one that's too big and too heavy a lot of times. It's best to use something that looks like a fish like this, that actually sinks through the water quickly, and you can pull it up and it hits the bottom quick. Pull it up and it hits the bottom. If it's bulky, it's not going to do that. It's going to you won't get it off the bottom enough. And sometimes too, if you're afraid you're going to lose your jig, it's always best to use a treble hook jig. Do not use a single hook jig when you're rockfish fishing. Try not to. Unless it's one of those cool little Gamakatsu or owner hooks on the end, I would say the Siwash hook and stuff like that, just don't even buy the jig. Don't. Okay, just don't. Go with a treble hook jig. Now, if you do find you're snagging up too much, you can cut one of those hooks off, like what you see here. Cut one off, you still got two here, you're still highly successful. It works good. You don't get stuck in the bottom as much. But I use a treble hook jig because I want every single fish that touches this sucker. You know what I'm saying? I want to catch every fish. And using something about anywhere from, these work good too. This is about 3 ounces. This is about 5 ounces. And here's a stinger jig, which is probably about 4 ounces, right? I try not to get above 6 ounces. I try not to. I don't catch anything after. I don't catch enough after that. I'm not busy enough, you know? I like to stay busy. I want to catch a lot of fish that day. I want to catch a ton. I want to go through a bunch of fish, you know? So I'm successful with this stuff, mostly. Something looks like a little fish. Now, there's still some Jack's jigs out there. Those are pretty good. Those 4 ounce ones and stuff, the 6 ounce ones, they're good. But once you start getting heavier, it's tough to catch rockfish on those suckers. It is hard. It's tough. And just stuff that moves through the water. I mean, these work good too. You know, stuff like this works fine too. You know, it works good. Put a teaser above this one. That works good too, sometimes. Well, just, you know, a shrimp fly above it on a dropper loop, right? That works good. But I prefer to use stuff like that, go through the water quickly. You know, it stays on the, you can work it more, you can feel what's going on more. Anything heavier than that, it's gonna be tough to feel what's going on. Yeah. Most people are using about a 300 series reel to a 400 series reel with 50 to 65 pound braid on it. That's what most people are using. With maybe I go straight braid. I don't see any difference. I go straight braid. I don't put any mono on there or fluorocarbon. It's rock cod fishing, man. It's rock cod fishing. I tie that sucker, I drop down there, I get bit. I don't think they're real line shine when they're eating a jig, to be honest with you. I really don't.
Uh-huh. And you know, it's, you know, for someone who's always fished mono almost my whole life, and then making the switch to braid, especially for rock cod fishing, you can really tell the difference between braid and mono and all the different bumps and exactly when you're going to get bit too.
You can. You're right. Hands down, it's more sensitive. I mean, hands down. But now, if I was fishing like a live bait or something like that, I would definitely switch to mono or fluorocarbon. I would definitely do that. Straight braid is not generally good for finesse type fishing, stuff like that. It's generally, you need some clear line for that, for sure.
Absolutely. Awesome. Oliver Solis is checking in. What's going on, Oliver? Carrie says, if you want to support taking kids fishing, definitely follow and support Captain Rollo's Kids at Sea. Absolutely. Very great friends over there.
We love friends of Rollo.
Yep. Brian Woolley's checking in. What's going on, Brian? We just had him last week. Carrie's asking, have you fished San Diego Bay, and any tips for us that may be participating in Day on the Bay with CCA on Saturday?
You know, I was born in San Diego. I grew up down there before I came up here. I used to fish. I was such a harbor rat when I was a kid. I would pinhead on the sport fishing boats, and as soon as I was done, I'd be out in the harbor fishing sand bass and stuff. You know, scroungers still work really good. The scrounger lures, those work amazing. Of course, MC, big hammer lures, stuff like that, that's all going to work too. Jerk baits have become really big for that. And A rigs have been okay too. The umbrella rigs have been pretty good for guys. And I guess some heavy spinner baits in the bottom drag really slow with a swim bait shoved up the middle of it works good too. All that stuff works really good. Fishing the weed beds and stuff, the eelgrass beds and all that, sometimes just on the outside, or if you can get your jerk bait through it without getting snagged up too much, I'm sure that would work very well too, especially for spotties. They love that stuff.
Excellent tips. Norman's checking in. Norman Rodriguez says, love the Stardust family.
We love you too, Norman. Thank you.
Awesome. Let's go back to the gear for a second there. You know, we talked about the jigs and the live bait and all that. What kind of typically, you know, you had mentioned a 300 size reel. I mean, with going up and down for rock fishing and all that, would you say that having a level line might be much easier just for, you know, just to have?
I found it easier for doing, if you can, why not? It's just less you got to do with your thumb and look down and all that other stuff, right? I mean, it really is. But listen, you can take your other stuff out there and do, you know, I mean, I do it. I got some, you know, I got my tranks. I got all kinds of other stuff too. I mean, I've got my pen, you know, I've got all my other stuff that I don't have level lines on that I use. I'm getting old now, you know. I like using level wind reels and stuff. I like just hold the whole thing in my hand, wind it in. You know, I'm totally cool. I'm good. Yeah. Don't look down, go like this, you know. Yeah, I'm good.
Hey, level wind's not for old people. Trust me.
Hey, level wind reels now. Listen, fishing tackles come so far. You have to admit it's badass right now. It's the best. Fishing tackle is insane right now. I mean, that's the best fishing tackle I've ever used in my life. All that stuff, you know, all the Shimano, Daiwa, all this other stuff that's come. Wow, right? How fun is that stuff to use, and how carefree are you when you're using it? Not having to. I mean, it's changed everybody's style of fishing. I guarantee it. Yeah.
And well, here's a question for you who's been around for a while. I mean, I always say probably in the last 5 years or so, it's almost like night and day between our gear and all that. When do you think, when was the switch where, you know, our gear really starting to be how it is today?
I'd have to say maybe 7 to 10 years ago. Things really really changed a lot, especially with all the level wind reels out now, because people started catching tuna on them. And these reels are easy to cast. They're easy. Let's face it, they're easy to cast. And they started beefing them up throughout the years to catch big tuna on, you know, good sized tuna, anywhere from 20 to almost 100 pounds now on like a Tranks or something like that, right? A nice big, full of 80-pound braid. And you're throwing, and also too, how would you throw some of that stuff, those smaller lures, in a foamer of tuna? How would you do that with the tackle we had, you know? So things change pretty quick. You know, things change pretty quick. I mean, it's amazing to use such a light rod and catch such a big fish on it, you know, and have the power to do it, you know, have the actual reel set up to wind in a big fish like that. You know, that's really awesome, I think. And I think that's where things started changing. People needed to get their stuff out to these bigger fish, and that other tackle wasn't cutting the mustard, you know, it just wasn't, you know. I mean, when you had your Newells and your 500s, all this other stuff like that, and other good reels, you know, there's some great Shimanos in there, but you still couldn't cast that light little lure, popper, whatever it was, into that foamer of bluefin or yellowfin or whatever, and get it through there, or yellowtail, whatever you're fishing. You just couldn't get it out far enough. And I think that's when things started changing a lot.
Oh yeah. I mean, I kind of, you know, something that just came to mind where, you know, years and years ago when cell phones were coming out, they kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Reels almost, you know, it's almost the same thing right now where reels can get smaller and smaller and smaller, but still have the same power as, you know, all those big reels way back when.
Well, braided line changed that whole thing too, because you can pack a lot of braided line on a smaller reel now and still have plenty of line to catch a big fish on it. They just beefed up the reel enough to where it could handle catching a number of large fish on the same reel without completely destroying it. Some of those tuna they're pretty gnarly. And if you catch 4 or 5 fish, 10 fish, 20 fish on that same reel, it's got to be able to cut the mustard. Right. And they do now, you know, I mean, there are still some follies and stuff like that, but pretty much that tackle handles it now.
Oh yeah. No question about it. Oliver says, Jamie and Jason are the best in the game. Fishing Syndicate in the house. Absolutely, Oliver. We love you guys.
Thank you.
Carrie says, how deep are your rockfish? Why not a 2-speed and make it easy?
You could use a 2-speed. Go ahead. Generally, this year, we've been fishing anywhere from 240 feet all the way up to like 60 feet. It's been a fairly shallow water fishery this year. On occasion, we go deep when the shallow sucks. It can suck. I mean, we fish, so we're out there every day doing this all the time. Sometimes we'll drive over the deep. We always end up going to the deep water before the shallow water because we're driving over it to get there. So it's a real indication if we drive over some areas and go, hey, this is going to bite today. This looks good. In the deeper water, we'll take a swing on it. You know, if it bites, great. If not, we just keep on plugging away till we find an area that wants to bite. But this year, we do like to focus on shallow water because it is more fun. Let's face it. The shallow water is a lot more fun, you know? And the quality in the shallow water has been amazing too, you know? Deeper water is probably pretty good, but that shallow water, we can catch a lot of we can catch more lingcod, we can catch whitefish and sheephead mixed in with all of that too. I mean, like I said, it's not uncommon to get 20 fish bag limit right now.
Yeah, no question about it.
And the 20 fish bag limit comes a little more shallow. Whitefish, we generally don't catch much whitefish outside 240 feet of water. Generally, it's in 180 up to, like I said, 60 feet, 50 feet, stuff like that. Yeah.
And, any particular reason or logic behind, fishing shallower versus deeper, or is that just kind of the way it is this year?
Well, the logic is that a lot of that fish is mixed together right now. The whitefish, rockfish, sheephead, and lingcod and stuff like that. That's all kind of mixed in the same zone. They're living with each other pretty good. So if we can go in there and get that type of variety, well, hands down, that's a no-brainer, right? I mean, that's some good fishing right there. Some of those whitefish are between 5 and 8 pounds. Some of them, it's incredible. They look like yellowtail, it's pretty cool.
I was just about to say, well, off the top of your head, what's the biggest whitefish you caught this year?
I think it's 12 pounds.
Wow.
I think it's been a 12 pounder, pretty close to that. I remember Rafa weighing it and going, this, it was pretty rough day, but he's all, this is teetering between like 11 and 12, kind of, it was pretty cool. It was big. We got a picture of it on somewhere out there on our Facebook or something. It is gnarly. Like they're holding it up and the deckhand's hand is all the way up its stomach, like a largemouth bass or something. I mean, it was massive.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was really cool.
That's unreal. Raymond's checking in. Penn Fathom 25 level wine for rockfish for the win.
Penn Fathom?
Yep, Penn Fathom 25 level wine.
How
that? Edgar says, my go-to setup on the Coral Sea or Stardust is Fishing Syndicate 800 series rods, Avet MXL or SX.
Sounds great. Yeah, I mean, you've been using it. It's been working well, I would imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. Chris says he's craving a mega mouth burger.
God, so am I. I want one right now. I love boat burgers. I've been eating those things for 40 years. I can't get enough. Ask anybody. I eat one every day when I run the boats. I eat one every day.
Oh my gosh, that sounds really good right now. Carrie says shallow water makes sense for the level wine. All the rock fishing I've done is pretty deep. Adam says you treat customers like family. That's what makes you such a great guy all around.
Thank you.
Yep. Todd says, I'm a sheephead guy. What's the biggest goat your boats have caught?
Oh, this year it was well over 20 pounds. I think it was 25 something, I think, which is huge.
I was just about to say that is a massive sheep.
Oh, it was massive. There's a picture of it online too, somewhere in there. It's in there. They caught it earlier this season, I think. It was this season. It was big though. It was massive.
Wow.
Our biggest one we ever caught, I think it was 38 pounds or something, or 36 pounds. It was at St. Augustine. It was just years ago. God, had to be 15 years ago. It was the biggest sheep I'd ever seen in my life. I never saw one that big. Guy caught it on a live squid up at St. Augustine at the ranch. And I thought he hooked a yellowtail. I did. I thought he had a yellowtail. It was fighting like a yellow. I'm like, wow, we just hooked a yellow in February. In March. I'm like, that's really odd. It ended up being a giant sheephead. But it was pretty cool. One of those really windy, rough days too. I was getting ready to leave, and this guy's, "Don't leave yet, don't leave. I got a big one." Guy's name was Scott that caught it, but it was big. It was really big.
Oh my!
We have a picture of that somewhere too online. It was big. It's actually on one of our brochures. It's on the front of one of our rack cards.
Okay, awesome. I'll be sure to take a look. Well, you kind of touched on something that I wanted to get into. Being the bus driver on the boat, being the captain and all that. Any tips for us anglers on the boat? Obviously, rock fishing, it can get, pretty, precise in a way. Any tips for us anglers on how to follow to make your life a little bit easier on the boat?
Yeah, don't get tangled. Yeah, just don't get tangled. Like that's gonna happen, right? Yeah.
Oh, that's too funny.
Other than that, it's pretty chill. Okay, it's pretty chill environment. Yeah.
Awesome. Grant says, looking forward to fishing on the Stardust. Norman says, using artificial baits in that shallow water is the best. good size reds, chucks, and lings put up a good fight.
Yeah, they do. They don't blow it up as fast either. You know, they don't blow it up as fast. And you can use all those cool little fancy lures that you've been trying to use for God knows how long. Yeah, I mean, it's cool, you know, and you'll catch fish on them. Yeah.
Absolutely. Jack says, my son's almost 14, an absolute fishing addict, and is ready to train as a deckhand. What can he do?
My son's doing that too. We have a little program that we do. It's a very reduced price because that's how it has to happen. You can call me. My cell phone number is the after hours number on our website. Just call me and I'll tell you how we can probably work something out someday. It's not that it's pretty simple.
Excellent. And, you know, speaking of your crew, I mean, every time I go up north to Santa Barbara on the Stardust or Coral Sea, I mean, your crew is second to none, man. It's top notch all the way around.
You know, most of those guys grew up with me. They started off as children. They've been there. I've had some guys for 17 years. They've been with me. Some guys. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, most of my crew's been with me since they were little children. We've managed to work together and make something really cool out of this. Yeah,
and you know that kind of hits the nail on the head. You treat your crew right. They come back every year. Little turnover, little you have to do.
They're amazing guys. I mean, seriously, I always, whenever I hire people, I say, if I can't be friends with you, I'm not going to hire you. That's all there is to it. Like I said, they've been with me forever, you know. I mean, they've grown up basically with me, you know. And now I've got my son Matthew works on the boat, and I send him out with them without me on the boat a lot of times. I want him to learn without me there to learn. Just he's got to take his licks too, you know, just like we all did.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, it kind of, you know, I don't know. There's something to be said about, you know, just kind of sending off your kid to almost like school, just really kind of learning. Not only, you know, he's got your stuff down, what you've been teaching on him for years and years and years.
They get to learn and handle it on their own.
Yeah,
they do. They have to stand on their own 2 feet, and they have to do this, and they have to take advice, orders, whatever. They have to, you know, they have to do this, you know, and it's pretty cool. They learn how to get things done. They learn how to handle it, you know, and it's pretty. I mean, we need that. They need to learn how to fail and succeed, right? I mean, I always thought we needed failure class in our schools. Like, okay, I failed. I need to get up and do it again and again and again until I get it right, right? Not just, okay, I'm done. I failed. I'm not doing it anymore, right? I mean, yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's, you know, I had mentioned before, you know, couple minutes ago about you do a lot of work with the science community, with the CCFRP trips, typically in October, August, all that stuff. Have you, what's your take? Obviously, your family is really big in, PFMC and all that. Obviously you have really good outlooks on the sport of fishing and all that, but how important to you is to kind of, give back to science and also really kind of get into that truthful science there?
I think bringing to light, going out and doing that research and being so successful at it, let's just say the people you're taking out they're not as positive as you are or confident how the ocean's doing until you get them out there. And then they're like, oh my God, we're really, oh, wow, right? And there's a lot of fish out here. Wow, they weren't quite prepared for what was going to happen on those trips that we take them out on and do. A lot of people weren't quite prepared for that. And it's awesome to see that, because I think a lot of people have such a horrible view of what's going on in the ocean. My gosh, the amount of it's incredible what you see going across that channel and up and down the whole coast. I guarantee you guys are seeing humpback whales everywhere, occasional blue whales, dolphins, seals. Yeah, whatever. I'm just saying, birds. You have never seen this kind of wildlife probably on our coast ever, right? I mean, you can't go. There's stuff everywhere to see. It's incredible. And I think if people looked at that, and then when we take our scientists out and they're very successful at getting their data and all this other stuff, I think that they the way they thought about stuff, I think, changes a little bit too.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I think the word that I like to use is there's just so much life out there. There's so much life, whether it comes to dolphins. Almost every time you go cross that channel into the islands and all that stuff, you're seeing something.
Oh, absolutely. And there's also just huge populations of whales everywhere right now. You know, the krill place where the food is too and stuff. But I'm just saying, I mean, it's incredible to see the life out there, you know, up and down the whole coast, to be honest with you. I mean, this place is amazing to see some pretty cool stuff on the ocean, other than just catching fish and stuff. The whole experience is pretty cool right now, especially if it's not foggy. It's been a little foggy. Hard to whale watch in the fog.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, speaking of fog, you know, in terms of weather and all that, you know, obviously I've spent a lot of time fishing down in Channel Islands and Oxnard and all that. That crossing could get pretty dicey at times. You know, typically, you know, for the average angler, what time of year would you prefer, you know, would be best to go out there?
You can go out anytime, but you know, if you want to check the weather, great. Or we're kind of lucky here because we have the Gaviota Coast to fish. So if it's really crappy going across to the islands, we're not going out there. We're not going to put anybody, our boats or people in jeopardy. We're just not going to do that. It's not very good fishing in 20 to 30 knots of wind. It's not good. It's bad. It's not fishable. It's like unfishable, you know? So we go to other places where it's fishable, like our Gaviota coastline. Some of our fishing out in front of our harbor can be very good too. I mean, that doesn't get fished very often, you know, so it's pretty good too. But we'll go up that Gaviota coast, fish El Capitan or, you know, some other places up there. And it's really good. It's island quality style fishing. Can be a little deeper at times though, for sure. We'll be fishing in 300 plus feet of water sometimes. But the quality is unbelievable. It's a great place to we can go fishing often. We don't have to cancel trips often. There's some days though where it is just blown all the way to the beach. It's a no-brainer. We can't go that day. That does happen sometimes because we're not the deadliest catch, you know? We're not risking anybody's lives to go catch some fish on our rods and reels, okay? We're not doing that.
Oh my gosh, that's a good analogy there. Well, you know, when it comes, obviously, you know, rockfish is a big part of your game, as is the bass and halibut and all that. You know, there's usually a closure that comes up between January and February. Are you typically fishing in that closure, or is that really just reserved for boat work?
I do maintenance and stuff. I fix the boats up. That's our main objective. We fix our boats up. We fix our bait receiver up. We're literally there 5 to 7 days a week fixing up stuff, getting stuff back up to snuff again, making things better constantly. I'm a big boat work junkie. I love to do boat work. I always have, you know, I'm a boat work junkie for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, you know, obviously with your boats being so well maintained and so upkept, you know, the boats need time. They really do. They need time off.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's not much to catch that time of year. We could go sand dab fishing and stuff like that. We do the sand dab thing and stuff like that, but I'd rather just fix the boats up and have them stellar for the opening in January. I mean, in March.
Excellent. Carrie says it's okay to fail and we all will at some point. It's how you recover and learn from what that matters. Absolutely. TB Metal Art's asking, what landing are you out of? And we haven't really talked about the landing much.
We're at Sea Landing in Santa Barbara. Yeah, in the Santa Barbara Harbor.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, one last thing that I kind of want to touch on is the bait. I mean, we've talked about jigs and squid strips and all that, but you do have live bait available in the harbor, right?
We generally have anchovies or sardines almost every trip. Occasionally we don't have live bait, which is cool because we'll go out there and do just as good on our squid strips and our other stuff and the jigs and stuff, you know, which is really nice. But we generally have live bait on every trip, generally. But I got to tell you, we have to tell a lot of people that aren't catching a whole lot on the big sardines and stuff like that. I mean, they catch a couple. Like, look, if you want to really stuff that bag right now, put a couple squid strips on there, watch what happens. Right.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I know we're kind of on the tail end of 2020 and what, you know, that year has been, but What's your outlook on the 2021 season coming up here in March?
I think it's going to be about the same. How about that? I think it's going to be about the same. We'll have to wear masks. You know, we'll have to do the COVID thing. But I think it's going to be the same. I think we're going to have really great fishing next season, similar to this year. Maybe some more. It'd be cool. This is a La Nina. There could be more of a squid spawn this year, which means more white sea bass, more halibut. I know we were lacking that because of the squid issue. There wasn't much squid near shore anywhere, which is either around islands or on the coast or whatever. And that will put a damper on our sea bass and halibut fishing for sure. But this La Nina might make the squid come on in, and that might help that fishery a little bit, because, you know, those fish are there. It's very hard to catch on other, they're very hard to catch on other stuff. You know, I mean, we saw schools of them this year, and we just really couldn't get them to get with it, you know, because we were dropping sardines on them on dropper loops and catching one or two here and there. And then, you know, it'd be over after that.
Yeah, absolutely. Carrie wants to know, have you used glow-in-the-dark hooks with squid?
I see guys using the glow-in-the-dark lead heads and stuff. They catch fish on them, sure. I don't think there's any, I think when you're sea bass fishing, if you're keeping your rig very simple, like that little lead head, that little glow-in-the-dark lead head with a squid on it, that works great. As long as the current's not too strong. And I think that works great. But I think that keeping your rig simple like that's a great simple setup for catching sea bass and halibut is the way to go. I think getting anything too flashy, you're not going to catch much. I think keeping it really simple is the way to go.
Excellent. Excellent. And with, you know, obviously we kind of talked about jigs and all that. When it comes to live bait fishing, for whether it be rockfish or whatnot, you had mentioned that you're typically fishing like up to a 12-ounce weight on that. Are you going single dropper loop, double dropper loop? What are you typically fishing?
Do what you want to do. I'm good with it. I generally use one dropper loop myself if I'm using a sardine. I'm using one dropper loop, nose hooking it, getting it down as fast as possible, waiting for a big lingcod to eat it. But dropping two down isn't bad either. It's just if you get two big lingcod, chances are one of those might bite off or break off. Hopefully it's not the top fish, so you don't lose your bottom fish too. Right?
Fair enough. Fair enough. Awesome. Oliver says, it's going to be a great 2021. I sure hope so. Also says, thanks for sharing the knowledge, Jason.
Thank you.
Awesome. And he also chimed in, love fishing my bass setup with the lead head and squid or plastic and lead head up in Santa Barbara.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Love doing that.
Mm-hmm.
When I run the half-day trips on Wednesdays, we do a half-day trip every Wednesday in the Stardust. I'm always putting the small stuff down, little barrel sinker with a squid strip or a lead head or something like that, or one of these work really good sometimes, you know, all that stuff. Love it.
Excellent. Well, you kind of touched on something. So, you know, with the Stardust and the Coral Sea running almost daily trips and all that, do the boats typically fluctuate between half day and 3/4 day, or is usually one?
We were, but when COVID-19 hit, there's a huge demand for catching a really nice bag of fish, right? Huge demand for that. I saw it right away. As soon as we opened up, I put both boats on 3/4 day. I put the Stardust on 6 days a week. I kept the Stardust on a half-day trip on Wednesdays. One half-day trip. Other than that, both boats went full bore 3/4 day because we saw the need for people wanting to catch fish and the need for them wanting to eat that stuff too. You know, I mean, it's a pretty good deal. You catch a nice big bag of fish and you had a great time that day, right? I mean, yeah, pretty cool. And they brought home fish. So chances are they brought that fish home and everybody's like, hey, go back, go again. Right? Yeah.
Absolutely. That's awesome, Jason. Well, are you thinking about doing that for 2021 or are you just kind of running?
I'm not changing a thing. I'm going to stay the same. I'm going to stay the same. It's kind of what it's what everybody wanted, so we're just going to continue to keep doing it.
Well, if the demand's there, why change it, right?
Right. I saw the writing on the wall, and so we're just going to go straight 3/4 day both boats, and we'll probably keep doing that for a long time. We might even just keep doing that. It seems to be working out really good, and it seems to be what everybody wants, so that's what we're doing.
Perfect. Well, Jason, I can't thank you enough, man, for all the support that you and Jamie as well have shown CCA. I know we have our brand new Santa Barbara chapter up there too, which you guys have.
Hey, look, CCA is awesome. We need everybody to be involved and know what's going on, so things don't get shut down or taken away from us that shouldn't be taken away from us because it's on somebody's agenda without any data, any backing, anything like that. It is important to make sure, and guys like you, SAC, all these other organizations that want to keep fishing good, accessible, and open, that people stay involved with that and support the things that we're working on. Because the things we're working on are good things. They're to keep us out there fishing and being, I consider that part of our freedom. I mean, I do, 100%. We need to fish. True. We need to fish. And the fact that we're all working hard to do this and having everybody else's support is so important.
Yeah. And, you know, you kind of said it yourself where, you know, with you being so involved with SAC as along with Jamie as well. And, you know, SAC CCA, we kind of go hand in hand and trying to, you know, really work together too.
Almost on every issue, on a lot of issues. Yes. And because we're all fishermen, you know, we're all fishermen. I mean, we're all recreational fishermen in some way, shape, or form. We all are, you know, and we all need to make sure that and I feel too, since everything is so good out there, there should be no reason to take any of it away. We are regulated in a good way right now. We have limits. We got all this great. We had, like I said, we gave up 3,000 miles plus of ocean, right? And that ocean, that 3,000 miles of ocean is thriving. It's thriving, and and everything else is thriving, you know? Don't let anybody think there's no fish out here. Don't ever let anybody tell you that. That's very important.
Fair enough. Well, Jason, thank you so much for being here. One more time, how do we get to go fishing with you on the Stardust or the Coral Sea?
You can look online at stardustsportfishing.com. You can do it right from your cell phone even. You can call Sea Landing at area code 805-963-3564. I mean, you could call me, but I can't really book you because I'm not near, you know, the computer or nothing. But our website, perfect thing to book from. Hit the book online button. It'll show you our schedule. We are booked out till the end of the month. We still may have an open spot or two.
Excellent. And people can charter the Stardust and the Coral Sea as well, right?
They sure can anytime they want, as long as we're not booked on that day. Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. Well, Jason, thank you so much for being here, man. We really appreciate you being here and for everything you've done.
Because I was going to get really bored. I was going to get really bored. Thank you so much for doing this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thanks again, Jason. Really, really appreciate you being here. And thanks to everyone for joining us today. As a reminder, we are off next week because it's Thanksgiving. So it's understandable. But anyway, please make sure you like us on Facebook, and also give Stardust Sportfishing a like too. Really, really interesting stuff. And you get to see a lot of cool stuff, cool pictures as well every day too. But awesome. Thanks again, Jason. Really, really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
And we will talk soon.